Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. Proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV Cable Channel 2. Please note that customers of CenturyLink and Cox Communication can view the program in high definition on Channel 1002 and in standard definition on Channel 2. You can also watch the meeting live on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV on the Go Vegas app. The Planning Commission meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, can be viewed on the internet at www.kclv.tv/live. The proceedings will be rebroadcasted on KCLV and the web the Saturday of the meeting at 10 a.m. and Monday at midnight and the following Tuesday at 6 p.m. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, number 3, roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Chair DeSalvio.
Present.
Vice Chair Schlottman.
Present.
Commissioner Cherry.
Present.
Commissioner Toussaint.
Present.
Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Commissioner Rogan.
Present.
Commissioner Chadha.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. To the public, I call your attention to the information printed on the agenda concerning the actions and the appeals and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains the rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to those rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Agenda item number 4 is public comment at this time during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, please come to the podium, give your name for the record, and the amount of discussion and the amount of time for a single speaker will be limited. Does anybody from the public wish to be heard at this time? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment here and go over to Jim. Anybody on the internet wish to make public comment?
No, Chairman, not right now.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 5 for possible action for approval of the minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of June 9th.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
You all heard the motion. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 6 for possible action, any item from the Planning Commission staff and/or the applicant wish to be stricken or held in abeyance to a further meeting may be brought forward and acted upon at this time.
Mr. Chairman, we have some housekeeping items. The applicants wish to obey items 14 and 15 and 26, 27 to the August 11th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. This is the first abeyance request for these items. And staff wishes to obey items 34 through 36 to the August 11th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. This is the first abeyance request for these items. Thank you.
Thank you. You wish to be heard, sir?
Yes, Greg Esposito, 1442 White Drive, representing item number 21. We would like to ask that item 21 be held so we can conduct a neighborhood meeting. And we'd also like to ask if there's anybody in the audience that was here for item 21, please see me so I could take your name and address down, or name and number down, so we can stay in touch with you about this item.
Okay, so item number 21 wishes to be held so you can hold a neighborhood meeting.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, down here, Jim Lewis. We've got a few items to be read in for item 21.
Okay, do you want to read that in?
I'd like to do them now.
Yes,
That's
please.
okay with you? Michelle Laramie writes, "Hi Trinity, I previously commented online that I oppose SCR 78443, item 21 on tonight's Planning Commission agenda. I just want to reiterate my opposition." And the second one is from Peter Frigari. "Hi Trinity, the proposed billboard at Las Vegas Boulevard in Maine seems to make a bad situation worse. Can it be sent back for revision? I think something very cool could be done there." And that's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Any other commissioners wish to make any comments? Seeing none,
Mr. Chair, if
Go
we
ahead.
could have the applicant clarify that we would like to obey to the August 11th, 2020 Planning Commission. And also, since this is the third abeyance request, you'll be required to make a finding, so.
Okay,
We can agree to that, yes.
okay, so Mr. Esposito agrees to the August 11th. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Slotman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on items 14, 15, 26, 27, 34, 35, and 36, I would move to hold those till the August 11th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. And on item 21, based on the community wanting to have a neighborhood meeting, I would find that as a just cause to go ahead and vote on this matter, to hold that one till the August 11th, 2020 Plan Commission hearing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, through you, so as a part of that motion, Commissioner, if we could just be clear that I believe this was obeyed last meeting for a neighborhood meeting as well, so this 30 days should be more than adequate time to conduct a neighborhood meeting so this item can be heard in August if possible.
I would agree with that, and I have had a conversation with the applicant and told them that I would like to see this come forward, and I don't want to see it held again, so hopefully we can work with the neighbors in that amount of time frame.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Please cast. And that motion carries. Moving on to consent section of this agenda. Consent items are considered as routine by the Planning Commission, may be enacted by one motion. However, any item on this can be discussed if a commission member wishes to have the applicant or themselves pull it forward. Does anybody wish on the consent to have anything, any commissioners? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve items number 7 and 8.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to one motion and one vote. The following
Mr.
are...
Chairman?
Oh,
My apologies. So those two tentative maps will be final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 7 days. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Summerfield. Okay, moving on to one motion, one vote. The following are items that may be considered under one motion and one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public and non-public hearing will be open at any time. Any person representing an applicant or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standards conditions for this application recommended by the staff should request to have this item removed from this part of the agenda. Related items 9 and 10, GPA 78801, for the possible action on a request for a general plan amendment from DR to RNP and low density at the southwest corner of Craig Road and Buffalo Drive. Ward 4, staff recommends approval. Number 10, ZON 78802, for the possible action on a request for rezoning from U to DR Desert Rural and Density and RNP Rural Neighborhood Preservation General Plan designation to R1 Single Family Resident, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. Item number 11, TMP 78803, for the possible action on a request for a tentative map for a 17-lot single-family residential subdivision, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. Related items 12 and 13. Item 12, MOD 78829, for the possible action on a request for a major modification of the Sunstone Master Plan to add 4 development parcels to an existing 22-lot master plan development and to amend the approved street sections at the southwest corner of North Sky Canyon Park Drive and Moccasin Road, Ward 6. Staff recommends approval. Item number 13, TMP 78830, for the possible action on a request for a parent tentative map for a 28-parcel master plan community, Ward 6. Staff recommends approval. Item number 16, SUP 78817, for the possible action on a request for a special use permit for a tattoo parlor / body piercing studio use at 923 East Ogden Avenue, Ward 5. Staff recommends approval. Item number 17, SUP 78818, applicant for a possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 1,465 square foot beer and wine cooler on off-sale establishment use at 7018 West Charleston Road, Suite 1, Ward 1. Staff recommends approval. Item number 18, SUP 78837, for the possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 1,953 square foot tavern limited establishment use with 168 square foot outdoor patio at 1506 South Main Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 19, VAC 78776, for the possible action on a request for a petition to vacate public right-of-way easement generally located at the northeast corner of Centennial Boulevard and US 95, Ward 6. Staff recommends approval. Item number 20, VAC 78787, that's a tongue twister, for the possible action on a request for a petition to vacate patent easements at the northeast and southeast corner of Gowan Road and Durango Drive, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. And go ahead, Ms. Allen.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Stephanie Allen, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. Here on behalf of the applicant on items 9 through 11, Pinnacle Homes. We do not want to take this off of the one motion, one vote. In fact, we appreciate staff's recommendation of approval and having it on one motion, one vote. But we did have a second neighborhood meeting last night and wanted to put on the record the neighbors had some traffic and site visibility concerns. We gave our assurance and our commitment that we would meet with staff between now and City Council to discuss those concerns. So I just wanted to make sure that was put on the record this evening, and again, we'd appreciate hopefully an approval on one motion, one vote.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I may, if I could just disclose on items number 16 and 18, that I have a financial interest in properties in the notification area. It doesn't affect me any greater or less, or I will be voting.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes, and
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, on item 18, I'm not within the notification area, but I want to go ahead and make that disclosure because I do own the Urban Lounge, and I'm typically within that notification area, but I will be voting on this matter tonight.
Okay. Okay, at this time, anybody wish to make any comment? Seeing none, call for a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on the one motion, one vote.
Wait, hold on one second. Anybody online?
No, Chairman, thank you.
All right, thank you. Please, Mr. Slotman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on items, one motion, one vote, items 9 through 11, 12, 13, and 15 through 20, I would move to approve.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 9 through 11, 16, 17, and 19 will move forward to City Council and be heard as a part of their agenda on August 19th, 2020. Items 12, 13, 18, and 20 are final action this evening unless appealed to the City Clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you, Mr. Summerfield. Okay, we're moving on to the public hearing items of the agenda. Item number 21 was an abeyance STR 78443 for the possible action on a request for a site development plan review for the proposed addition of a digital LED. Oh, that was held, sorry, my bad. Let me cross that out. Moving on to item number 22, abeyance VAR 78681 for the possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 50-foot tall freestanding sign where 12 feet is the maximum allowed, and to allow a 294 square foot sign area where 48 square feet is the maximum area allowed at 5850 Sky Point Drive, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. May I have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by requested to install signage that exceeds the maximum area and height allowed under Title 19 development standards for the R3 zoning district. Staff therefore recommends denial. Thank you.
Through the chair, I believe we're getting the wrong application on our monitor to the left. It looks like it's the Denny's.
Yeah, they have that labeled as 21 and 22, and it's two separate agenda items.
But 21 was obeyed, we're just doing 22, just for clarity.
That's
Thank you.
correct. 22 is in Ward 6,
So-
and the other one was in Ward 3.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could real quick, just for our Jeff or whoever's doing the IT, if you could continue to progress this until we get to the Kalita project, which apparently we do not have in the overheads. So disregard.
Okay, so moving on, we heard the staff report. At this time, is the applicant here that represents, or a representative for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard on this item? Okay, seeing none, anybody online?
No, Chairman.
Okay, at this time, I'll turn it over to commission. This is in my area. I had talked to the applicant a few days ago and told him that this 50-foot tall freestanding sign was definitely not harmonious and compatible for where they plan to put it. With that said, I'm just going to entertain a motion for denial, and plus they're not even here to represent themselves, so. You all heard the motion. If unless nobody else has got anything, please cast your vote. And that motion carries. Moving on to related items.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, sir. That item will move forward to City Council and be heard as a part of their agenda on August 19th, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Summerfield. Moving on to related items 23 through 25, 23 GPA 78392 for the possible action on request for a general plan amendment from low-density residential to service commercial at 300 South Bruce Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 24, ZON 78394 for the possible action on request for a rezoning from professional office and parking to C1 limited commercial, Board 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 25, VAR 78396 for the possible action on request for a variance to allow a 60-foot lot width where 100 is required and a 5-foot side yard setback where 10 feet is required in Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. May I have a staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, evidence of a unique circumstance has been presented in that the subject building was constructed in 1992 in accordance with its existing PR zoning designation in order to house a land use that was permitted through a use variance. Staff finds the requested general plan amendment and rezoning to be appropriate for the surrounding area. Staff therefore recommends approval of all applications. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here or the representatives for items 23 through 25? Please come forward, state your name for the record.
Good evening, Chairman. This is Raul, representing item 23 to 25.
Can I have your last name, too?
Last name Sodhi, S-O-D-H-I.
Please go ahead.
So we have requested the zone change and the general amendment plan change. This is an existing business, and they are doing a retail business as a mini mart and grocery, and they request the zoning change so they can apply for off-sale liquor, off-sale beer and wine license, which will be very helpful for the business because it's on the track of the convenience store business, and that's why they request for that. It'll be helpful for them in this situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is noticed as a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard on these items? Seeing none, I'll close it here. Anything online? No. Okay, nothing online, so at this time, I'll hand it over to Commissioner Cherry? Do you have anything?
Oh,
Okay. Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is in my neighborhood. I pass down Bruce Street all the time. It's conforming. The place has been there forever. It was a pet store at one point, then a fish store, and then now it's a mini mart. So I will say one thing. I'll be in support of this because I think it brings it into compliance. But I don't think you or your clients know what the sign code is. If you take a look at the windows, all the sign spam throughout spread on 100% of the windows. If you come back and ask for a special use permit for beer and wine, I can't support you. Not until you can prove to us that you can actually clean up your store, get rid of the graffiti, get rid of the homeless encampment on the side, clean up the front of your store, make it look good, show us that you're going to be a good neighbor, and then come back and talk to us. There's other people in the neighborhood who have been doing the same thing. They've come and asked us for beer and wine, for gaming, and I'm going back and looking at all of them. That was 6 years ago, and I'm going back and looking at their special use permits. So just because we approve something today doesn't mean that we won't call upon it here in 1 year, 6 years, 8 years. So do relay that message over to the owners of this mini mart. But nothing else. If there's no other comments, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
On items number 23, I'd move to approve, subject to staff's conditions.
You've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, item 24, I'd move to approve, subject to staff's conditions.
You've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, on item 25, VAR 78396, I'd move to approve, subject to staff's conditions.
Thank you, Chairman.
You've heard the motion. Cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, those three items will move forward to be heard by City Council at their meeting on August 19th, 2020.
Thank you. Moving on, related items 28 through 31. 28, GPA 78796, for the possible action on request for a general plan amendment from low-density residential to office at 1016 Monticello Drive, Ward 1. Staff recommends approval, denial. Item number 29, ZON 78797, for the possible action on request for rezoning from R1 single-family residential to professional office, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Item number 30, VAR 78798, for the possible action on request for a variance to allow a zero parking space where 9 are required, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. And item number 31, SDR 78799, for the possible action on request for a site development plan review for the conversion of an existing single-family dwelling into an office building with waivers of perimeter landscape buffer requirements in Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Can I have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds that the proposed conversion of a single-family dwelling into a medical office is not compatible with the existing development in the area. This is evidenced by the associated variance waiver and exception request. Furthermore, approval of the requested general plan amendment and rezoning would create a spot zoning situation. Therefore, staff recommends denial of all requested entitlements. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record, sir.
Good evening, Ethan Thompson, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. This application is submitted in connection with a property located at the southeast corner of Charleston and Monticello. The application seeks a general plan amendment from low-density residential to office and rezoning from single-family residential to professional office. Given the requested amendment and rezoning, the application also includes a request for a variance for parking and a waiver and exception regarding the landscaping at the property. The applicant intends to convert the house to an office use for family and marriage therapy. This use is consistent with the local area as professional offices, and in particular marriage and family therapy is likely the least impactful use as far as noise, lighting, signage, and business hours go. Service at the location will be offered between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. I'd like to take a moment to address a potential concern that this application would result in a spot zoning situation. I'm going to show a zoning map of the site. As you can see from the zoning map, 4 of the 6 end properties are zoned professional offices. That's these 4 right here. The various uses for these 4 properties include insurance, window installation company, and a rolling shutter company. And I have pictures of those 3 uses that I'll show to you. This is a farmer's insurance that was converted at the end of the property. The farmer's insurance is located right here. Next, we have the U.S. Energy Window Installation Company and the Rolladen Rolling Shutters. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that business correctly. It's important to note that this rolling shutter company is directly adjacent to a vacant lot that's next to the site in question. Each of the 6 parcels also has a general plan amendment designation as mixed use. So all 6 of the end properties that are abutting Charleston are already designated in the general plan as mixed use. That includes the vacant lot that's right next to the proposed site, and here is a picture of that vacant lot. It has not yet been developed into a home, and it's unlikely to be developed into a home. If anything, it's more likely that this vacant lot will become a commercial office space at some point in time, given the designations of the additional parcels along Charleston. Accordingly, the proposed zoning in this application is directly compatible with the similar zoning along Charleston. Practically speaking, the proposed property is not in the middle of a residential area, but located along and adjacent to both professional office uses and the C2 commercial shopping center, which is indicated here in red. Both professional office uses and the C2 commercial shopping center indicate that there is higher intensity uses here in this neighborhood than our proposed use. A neighborhood meeting was held on June 24th, 2020, and no neighbors attended. Further, our office hasn't been contacted by any neighbors indicating that they have any objection to the proposed change. I understand from staff's presentation tonight that there were some protest cards received. The shopping center designated as C2 that I was mentioning is home to several high-intensity uses. These uses include a gas station, a self-service car wash, 2 fast food establishments, Subway and Farm Basket Chicken and Turkey, a tavern called Time Out Sports Bar, a smoke shop, a taco shop, a furniture store, a salon, a car stereo shop, and a tax professional's office. And that's right on the front porch of this property. This picture right here is a view from the front porch into that C2 commercial center. So right as you walk out the front door, you've got the tavern, the taco shop is down here, the smoke shop is down here, you've got a Subway over here to the right-hand side. And across Charleston is the CSN campus. The CSN campus also includes a family service center, Nevada Youth Parole Building, and the Murray Stein Hospital. So really this this proposed change would act as a buffer between what is a higher intensity use and the residential use that we're seeking. Regarding the parking variance, the proposed use does not generate a high volume of cars coming to the site. There is ample on-street parking available, as you can see from this photo. Individuals are already using Monticello to park. The therapist will park in the garage. The garage isn't going to be converted, so there will be a parking space for the therapist in the garage. And there's ample parking on the street and in the driveway. The applicant intends to keep the landscaping that is there today, and that landscaping can be seen in this Google image photo of the house. In addition, there are also several significant social factors that support having this home converted into a therapy center, and that's the last thing I want to touch on. First, having access to therapy is a crucial component to overcoming the ever-growing mental health crisis. Supporting this application is, in effect, supporting individuals' access to therapy. Second, holding therapy in a home setting carries with it additional benefits. It provides a more comforting and relaxed setting, and we believe that that is consistent with what the City of Las Vegas wants to do. A home will never be built on the vacant lot next to us, like I mentioned. It's going to be commercial. At some point in the future, it may transition to a commercial office use, even. So the request today will really provide a low-intensity buffer between the homes to the north and the future commercial use that will likely consume Charleston and that area. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard on these agenda items? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing here. Anything online?
No, Chairman, thank you.
Okay, at this time then, I will close that public hearing and I will turn it over to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been ambivalent about this project, and I spoke directly to Ms. Lazovich with Mr. Thompson's firm about my concerns, and you've addressed some of the concerns, I think, tonight. I recognize the similarity of this project with the preceding project that we just considered on Bruce. There's some differences, I think, in the fact that this is Monticello. It's more of a residential street. It's only 50 foot wide. It's not a minor collector, I think, like Bruce is, which is 80 foot wide and moves some more vehicles in a generally commercialized area than this is, which directs vehicles directly into a neighborhood area. That being said, this is a home that's been vacant. It's had squatter problems. I don't think that its zoning as residential is ever going to continue to work here, but I'm ambivalent about whether this is the right solution, so I wanted to throw it open to my fellow colleagues for comment to see where they stand on this so they can make an appropriate determination on how to proceed.
If I may, I pass this place literally every day going to work, and if there was going to be a use that would be on the commercial side, I think office would be the fitting one. It would be a good buffer to have between that C1 and then a residential, and I think that what they plan, I know we're here for zoning, and they could say they want to do whatever they're going to do there, and they could change tomorrow, I get that, but if they are to put a therapy center in there, usually when you're doing therapy, you might only have 1 or 2 people at a time in there for an hour long, and then, the next person comes. I can't see them ever having like 9 vehicles, plus the tremendous amount of parking across the street and on that road. Like I said, that's what I see. I could support it because of the intensity of the use. If you're going to have something in a neighborhood, offices, especially something to the point of therapy, that's why I could get behind it. But if anybody else...
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner, let me go, and then I'll go to you.
And I echo a lot of the same things as the chairman. The last item was changed to a C1 commercial zone. This would be an office zone. And I didn't like it when I first seen this item, when I first read it. And when I spoke to Ms. Lazovich, I was still on the fence on which way I wanted to go. But thinking about it and hearing the gentleman talk tonight about some of the uses that are directly across the street with the bar and all the other commercial activity, I kind of see the benefit in going to an office to provide that buffer between what will likely be a heavy commercial use right on the corner of Charleston and the residential. So I kind of like that buffer in there. So I think I could get behind this.
Thank you, Commissioner Slotman.
Through the
Jerry?
chair, to pile on to some of your comments, my wife is a therapist, and she's been in private practice, and it is a low-intensity use. The way they kind of stack their people coming to the office, it's not 9 people waiting. There's a person, and there's a little bit of a buffer, and the next person comes, and they try to create a little bit of privacy, amongst their clients. So I think it's going to be a good fit, and it's, seeing a home that's been vacant for some time and to see it cleaned up and active and lights on, I think is a positive thing. So I will be supporting.
Thank you, Commissioner Toussaint.
Yes, my son is a therapist in Southern California, and I know how his clients are. I think this is a perfect use for this location. I really do. I talked to Ms. Slavovich about it, and I'm in agreement with her, and I'm in agreement with you. And I drove by there on the way down here today, and I'm familiar with this area. So you'll have my support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Toussaint. Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you. I do appreciate the comments because I was really desperately on the fence about this one, as I said, switching back and forth between supporting it and opposing it. And I appreciate the comments from all of you. I think at this point, given your presentation tonight, Mr. Thompson, especially with that zoning map showing that this is not really spot zoning since there already are similar professional office uses right there in adjoining and neighboring parcels, I do think that this is something that I can support, though hesitantly. With that being said, if there's no further comment, I would make a motion to approve item 28 GPA 78796.
You've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
I'd also make a motion to approve item 29 ZON 78797.
You've heard the motion. Cast your vote. Commissioner Williams? And that motion carries.
Next, I'd make a motion to approve item 30 VAR 78798, subject to staff's conditions.
For the motion, cast your vote, please. That motion carries.
And finally, I'd move to approve item 31, SDR 78799, subject to staff's conditions.
Heard the motion, cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, those items will move forward to City Council and be heard as a part of their agenda on August 19th, 2020.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to related items 32 and 33. Item 32, ZON 78819, for the possible action on a request for a rezoning from R3, medium-density residential, to R4, high-density residential, to C2 general commercial at 1217, 1215, 1207, 1201, and 1155 South 4th Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. And item 33, SDR 78820, for the possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 6-story, 70-foot-tall mixed-use development, including 270 residential units and 4,000 square foot of commercial space, with a waiver of Appendix F, interim downtown Las Vegas Area 1 development standards, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. May I have the staff report?
Through the chair, if I may quickly, I will be abstaining from both items. My company has an open contract with the applicant's representative and has for some time.
Thank you very much. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed development will be accessed from Las Vegas Boulevard and 4th Street, featuring a drive-through that leads into a parking garage area. The applicant proposes to provide 136 parking spaces, where 395 parking spaces would be required for a comparable mixed-use project in another location of the city. While the 2045 Downtown Master Plan and Gateway District encourage projects such as mixed-use development for the subject site, the development as proposed is overbuilt. This is evidenced by the significant deficiency in proposed parking. In addition, there isn't any adequate amount of off-street options for parking within the immediate vicinity of the subject site. Staff finds this project will not be harmonious or compatible with the existing development in the area. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested site development plan review. If approved, this site will be subject to conditions. Please note that there are additional letters of support and protest since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record, sir.
Good evening. My name is Todd McBrayer, 5525 Polaris Avenue with Breslin Builders, representing the applicant. We're pleased to present this new project that's going to come into the downtown area. It's a mixed-use residential project with some commercial space in an area that will definitely meet the needs and requirements of the Gateway project, or Gateway District, sorry. If we look at the intent of what the Gateway District is looking for, it's looking for some high-impact, high-intensity residential mixed-use projects, and this is a project that fits that need. If you look at the overhead, you'll notice that we've identified the property where the development's going to go, which is at the north end of the Gateway area. If you see the blue across the street, that is developments that are currently owned by the developer, Ilan Gordevsky. Unfortunately, he is not able to make it tonight due to circumstances, but his representative and partner, Phyllis Coleman, is here if there's any questions that need to be asked of them. So with that said, as you may have seen in the background, this is a compiling of various lots, and part of those are part of the zone change, taking down some blighted houses along 4th Street, as well as lots A and B are currently vacant. At one point had a development, but that's been removed. So it's kind of a weird-shaped lot that they've been able to compile for this development at this point. Mr. Gordevsky is interested in expanding his presence in that area. He's put a large investment across the street in the Thunderbird, the Super 8, as well as the banquet facility across the street, and looks to continue different developments across the street that would support both sides of the street along there. As mentioned by staff, the project is a 5-story residential project. over a level of parking podium, which also has about 4,000 square feet of lease space for commercial uses, fitting within the requirements of the Gateway District. So one of the requirements that the Gateway District is looking for is that high-intensity, high-impact use. And here we went through and looked at what was the most that we could get on the property to achieve that. We came up with about 270 units, as well as support facilities with amenities, parking, and other facilities to create a nice-looking project in this area that will definitely set the standard for some new developments that need to be sorely done in this area, and to help redevelop this section of Las Vegas Boulevard and 4th Street. The apartments, there's a mixture of micro units, studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedrooms scattered throughout the facility. Stantec Architecture did a good job to try to provide a mixture of different units in there to try to get a variety of apartments that would speak to a bunch of different types of people that would want to move into the downtown area. Majority of the units will be micros as well as studios and 1-bedrooms. There are a few 2-bedrooms where we utilize because of the shape of the lot. Those are infill pieces to kind of make up some of the angular places and things like that. We went with 270 units because that's what worked well on the site. The developer was looking to have at least 250 units to make it a viable project. You know, anytime somebody's going to be developing a certain number of units, there's a break point, and because of the size of the property here, he wanted to get as many variety of units available on that, while still trying to fit the shape of the Z-shaped lots. With regards to the elevations and the waiver that's been requested for the articulation of the parapets, given the modern look of the building and the clean lines that we're going for to fit within that area, we asked for that waiver. But as you can see on the elevations, the way that the Z-shaped is set up, the different setbacks of the building from the podium, while the parapet is linear, there is a bunch of steps associated with the building that it's not going to look like a homogeneous rectangular box on the strip. So while we have asked for that waiver because of the clean lines of the parapet, you'll notice in the elevations and the renderings that, in fact, we do have stepped parapet walls and different uses to break that up. With regards to the waiver for utilities, anybody that has done development, and I think this is a disconnect between what is a desired result in the zoning code versus the reality of NV Energy and Las Vegas Valley Water District. The ability to put their facilities inside the building footprint gets difficult, if not impossible, just because of the regulations of cranes and access to equipment. It's easier to find ways to put those outside the footprint so they have clear sky to allow them to meet their regulations that they're under and have imposed. Obviously, we'd want to try to screen those or beautify those as much as possible so that it's not distracting from the overall development, but that was the reason for the waiver on those, is just to catch up the applicant or the application to match realities of what truly will be happening at the site with our PDAs and our transformers and all those other things that traditionally we haven't been successful to get inside a building or under the building. And it generally becomes a fight with the utilities to do that. So moving on to probably the 800-pound elephant in the room, which is parking. Staff showed some concern with parking, that we did not meet what traditionally would have been a requirement if we were not in downtown. One of the requirements in the Gateway District is to provide projects that are compatible with mass transit, compatible with a pedestrian feel. If we were to provide a project that had 400 parking stalls, or even if we were to take it the opposite direction and look at the number of stalls that we have provided, we would be a project about 80 stalls, which anybody that has done development understands what we're trying to do here with the high impact. 80 units just does not become a viable project for the development of this project this size. So even though the staff did point out that anywhere else in the city that would be required within the requirements of downtown, they're not automatically assigned. And there seems to be a subjective discussion that needs to take place about what is the correct number of parking stalls, knowing that in other areas and other projects that have been recently approved and developed that are well within a 50-50 match of the number of units versus the number of parking stalls provided. We're at that 50-50. We have 136 stalls, and we have 270 units. So based on that, we are consistent with the other developments that recently have been done in the other areas.
Is that are you concluded, or?
So with that, we have reviewed staff's, if approved, conditions, and we are in agreement with those. And then we open up any discussion and questions that you may have. And looking forward to your approved vote.
Okay, this is noticed as a public hearing. Does anybody from the public wish to be heard on these items? Seeing none here, I'll close the public hearing, but I do have online.
Yes, we've got an online comment from Arnold Stock. He writes, I am writing concerning items 32 and 33 on the City of Las Vegas Planning Commission agenda today, 7/15/2020. The project is known as the Gateway Project and is located at 1200 Las Vegas Boulevard South. It is a mixed-use development with 270 residential units and retail. I am the founder of Share Village Las Vegas, formerly known as Veterans Village. We are located immediately next door, south of the subject parcel, and we have been neighbors with the owner, Mr. Ilyan Ilgordetsky, across the street at the Super 8 Motel for several years. Mr. Ilgordetsky has been an excellent neighbor who has invested several millions of dollars in renovations and improvements to the Super 8 and surrounding motels and retail uses along Las Vegas Boulevard South. He has also been supportive of our operations with many in-kind donations as well. I support agenda items 32 and 33 wholeheartedly. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, I will turn it over to the commission. Commissioner Solomon.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll start. So I'll start by saying I like this project, and I like the look of it. I think residential is what we need downtown. That's something that I've been saying for a number of years. And when I started building in downtown back in 2005, I built several townhome projects, and I think Todd, you've probably seen some of those, 11th Street lofts and Fremont Street lofts. And I've worked with Todd McBrayer on other projects years ago, and we don't have any ongoing business, but similar projects, and I always had a great relationship with him, and also Elon with the Thunderbird. Never worked with him, but a great guy. He reached out to me and talked about this project, and I support a lot of the stuff that both Breslin and Elon are doing, and I really would like to see find a way to make this project come down to downtown. I think it's needed. We need more bodies downtown, and it's a cool-looking project. And I agree with you on the articulating roof lines and stuff. We can get past that through a waiver. Do have a question through the chair for Todd McBrayer. The underground utilities, where you're talking about the RPDA and the transformers, are those going on the sidewalk or on private property, but just not inside the building?
They would be required to be right behind the property line, and our intent and our preliminary information is that they would go over on 4th Street. We definitely would not want to house those off of Las Vegas Boulevard, kind of treat 4th Street as our, I guess for lack of better terms, our back door. And any of those type of utilities we'd want to have on that backside.
All right. One of the biggest issues I have is the parking, and I spoke to Elon about this, and it was before I even read it. I said, well, how are you doing on parking? And that was my number one question, and he said, well, we're a little bit deficient. And then I went and read it, and we're a little bit more than a little bit deficient. So I'd like to somehow try to find a way to bridge that big gap that we have. We're at a 66% deficit on our parking. I know that we have had quite a few other projects in the past that come before us, even some down on 4th Street, which I denied just because I didn't want to put the burden on the neighborhood. There's not a lot of people in the neighborhood, residents, or and that little section, there's just some businesses and empty lots, and it wouldn't be putting a big burden on it today, but as more and more projects come to the neighborhood, how is that going to impact that neighborhood? So I'd like to hear from everybody else on what their thoughts are, because I'm looking at the background or the backup information. We have about 136 parking spaces, where 395 or more or less, that's what's required. I'd like to see what everybody else says and see if we can figure out a way to move forward from here.
Thank you. I'm pretty much echo the same sentiment. I think it's aesthetically pleasing. I think it will work down there. Artie's a great guy, and he's there right next to him. It's the parking I got to rub with too. I mean, it's really deficient, and it's where are these people going to go? I mean, you're going to put the burden on the neighborhood, and that's where I'm kind of really on the fence with it. I love development, but I just don't know yet, to be honest with you. Anybody? Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I share the same sentiments. Really cool project. Would love to see it come to fruition, but I do have concerns about the parking overflowing into the neighborhood.
Commissioner Chada?
Yeah, I also would like to echo the same sentiments. I really like this project. I really like the way it looks. I love the fact that you have I believe you call them micro condos and studios. I think that's a perfect fit for that area. I think what we're seeing a lot in downtown right now kind of makes this project harmonious and compatible with the surrounding areas. I also, though, that being said, as much as I'd love to see this project, I do have a concern with the parking. So, and I think we all are on the same page with the parking and what happens to me when I think of the studios and the micro condos. You're going to have to deal with that. That's a reality. So, I don't know.
Put us in a tough position, Todd.
We're just trying to make downtown better.
Commissioner Rogan?
I'm actually ready to support this tonight. I think that as everyone says, it's a great project. Not worried about the roof articulation. Yeah, I do have concerns about parking, but at some point we got to make that leap from being 100% reliant on parking in a downtown area and recognize that eventually there's going to be a sufficient public transportation system to address all of the transportation needs in this area. And while we were talking, I went online to the Boring Company, because right now they're talking about building that Vegas Loop right underneath Las Vegas Boulevard, right past this project. And whether that's viable or not, they're already building it down at the convention center. So that's even closer than we've ever been in the past to having some sort of public transportation system that'll go right by this project. So I would encourage us all to kind of take a step back and say, maybe this is the project, looking at it, how we all love this project and think that it fits. And I want to draw a comparison to the Thunderbird, which I don't think ever fit. That was a huge project that was too tall for the neighborhood, and that's what the neighbors were caring about back then, was its height. And if we start saying, look, we need a 1-for-1 or a 1.5-for-1 parking spaces for every project, what is that going to do? It's going to increase the height of that building so that they can put enough parking spaces into that project, and that's going to bring out the neighbor saying, this is going to cast a shadow into my neighborhood. So I would encourage us to again, take a step back, look at this project, and if there's one that we're going to risk it on, let's make it this one.
I have to say, underground parking would work perfectly, especially with a nice depot from the Boring Company.
I don't disagree with you, Mr. Chairman, if I could be recognized, but again, it's the costs, I'm sure. I don't know if it's going to
Correct.
pencil out for this project if they start digging down.
Okay, is there any other comments? Seeing none, Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Mr. Chair, through you, if I may hear from Mr. McBrayer one more
Yeah,
time.
one more thing that I failed to mention in my notes here, as I was going back through that, and it was a great segue there. One thing that the city has done and recognized that has helped downtown area is when the last building code cycle went through, and now this isn't related to the parking, but it's related to the size of the development and the ability to have a mid-rise product available as an option as opposed to being stuck with either 4 stories or high-rise. This would be one of those projects that would fit within that allowance, and that was the amendments that, that this body originally approved, and then it moved on to city council. So we're trying to take advantage of that also, of being able to fit within those amendments to fit in that, not parking related, but definitely another advantage of the progression of what's happened in the downtown area, getting us beyond what our history has been and allowed down there.
I think, Mr. Chairman, through you, I think one of my biggest issues would be the fact of, you know, I'm ready to take a risk, but I'm not ready to take a risk on 270 units. I've taken a risk on 20 units and 40 units and 50 units, but 270 units, if we get it wrong, we get it really wrong. And so that's my problem. So that being said, I don't want to hold up your project. I think this is probably going to go forward to city council. I can get behind the zoning. I can't get behind the SDR for that one reason, and you could work on that with the council person and whatever from between now and city council. Or you could choose to hold it and try to see how you could squeeze some more parking out and make all of us feel a little bit better.
Is there a magical percentage that makes us more palatable?
I don't know if there's a, I think that magical percentage would be 1-to-1, but, you know, or the magical would be 1.25, but we're not going to go all the way to 1.25. But, you know, something a little bit better than, you know, providing 33% of the required parking. And I can't tell you what that is. That's something that you could work on. You could, you know, you could come up with a couple of plans. You could talk to me before the next meeting.
Sure.
Or we could just let this go forward, and you could work on that to not slow down your project between now and city council.
Well, and one of the other points as I was doing my research, you know, maybe we can adjust our unit numbers down to maybe the 250 mark where the developer originally was. I think 270 was us trying to be, you know, try to get him the most that he could. That would definitely adjust the ratios. Within the form-based codes, there are provisions in there that talk about anywhere from 40 to 70% in certain high-use areas. So maybe if we're getting into the 40% zone, that might get us closer to.
I don't feel that this is something that we could figure out tonight.
Just trying to get a
So-
sense of what would be an acceptable.
So based on this, would y'all like to move forward or hold this?
Developer would like to go to council.
Perfect, okay. Seeing that, I would like to go ahead and make a motion.
Please do.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, on item 32, ZON 78819. I would move to approve, subject to staff's conditions.
You've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
And, Mr. Chair, on item 33, SDR 78820, I'd move to follow staff's recommendation for denial, just based on that testimony tonight, and you can let council know our reasons. Thank you.
You've heard the motion. The yes vote is for denial. And that motion carries.
Great. Appreciate your comments.
Absolutely,
It's not
thank
always
you.
being on the front edge of new development, but we'll figure something out and figure out a way to make this project work.
All right, thank you. Looking forward to your project.
Mr. Chairman, those items will move forward to City Council as a part of their agenda on August 19th, 2020. And I would just echo your comment about working with the council office. The councilwoman has been pretty emphatic about parking being a major concern she has in Ward 3, so I would definitely reach out to her prior to that meeting.
And they have had already discussions with Councilman Diaz, so we'll make sure that we continue those.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to related items 37 and 38, and I'm also going to pull 43 forward. So we'll move on to 37 is a VAR 78827 for the possible action on request for a variance to allow a 1,655-foot-long cul-de-sac where 660 feet is allowed at the northwest corner of Centennial Parkway, Pulley Road, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. Item number 38, TMP 78828 for the possible action on a request for a tentative map for a 303-lot single-family residential subdivision, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. And item number 43 is a VAC 78800. It is for the possible action on a request for a petition to vacate the Bureau of Land Management right-of-way grant generally located east of Sheep Mountain Parkway alignment, south of Farm Road, and north of Tropical Parkway, and west of Pooley Road alignment, Ward 6. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed subdivision is part of a 275-acre master plan development known as BLM 270, generally located on the west side of Pulley Road alignment between Farm Road and Tropical Parkway. The submitted tentative map generally conforms to the standards of the BLM 270 design guidelines and Nevada revised statutes as applicable for tentative maps. However, it does not conform to Title 19 with regards to length of streets with a cul-de-sac termination. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by designing a street with a cul-de-sac termination that exceeds 600 feet in length. As review of the tentative map is dependent on the recommendation of the related variance, which staff does not support, the recommendation of the requested tentative map is also denial. Please note that the first page of the staff report erroneously recommended approval of these two applications. Also, please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication. Furthermore, the following conditions of approval have been added to tentative map 78828. Condition A, the applicant shall submit a revised tentative map to the Department of Planning depicting a 24-foot wide emergency access easement at the northern terminus of Street C prior to the submittal of a final map for this site. And condition B, no on-site parking shall be allowed on the modified cul-de-sac bulb at lot 47. A designated fire lane shall be maintained on this bulb at all times. With regards to the requested vacation, the portions of the BLM right-of-way grants are no longer needed in their current configurations. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the petition to vacate Bureau of Land Management right-of-way grants. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Good evening. My name's Bob Grounauer, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. I'm here representing the master developer for this mini master plan community. I stood before you a few months ago in the discussion of this 275-acre master plan development, representing the developers from the Olympia Group and Larry Canarelli, who are developing this. As we mentioned a few months ago, with this development, we'd be coming back with additional applications. This is one of these that you see before you today, as staff has mentioned. We're coming in with a single-family builder, residential builder for this parcel. It was planned for a higher density, I believe about 15 units to the acre, or about 4.99 units to the acre. I believe yesterday, on Monday, our engineers and my client had some conversations with fire to address the overlength cul-de-sac. I know Chief Nolan's here. I think he was a part or is aware of the public safety questions and issues that we did address. I believe that is in the if approved conditions by your staff. That being said, I'd ask you to follow those if approved conditions that the engineer and my client worked out with the city staff. That being said, that would cover the variance and the tentative map that's before you. And then the vacation, these are government patent easements for Sheep Mountain Parkway that are no longer needed, as your staff has mentioned. So that's item, I believe, 43, that we'd ask you to follow staff's recommendations for approval on that. That being said, I can answer any other questions.
I thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none here. Anybody online?
No, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Turn it over to the commission, turn it over to myself, because it's my area. I appreciate what you put into it. I haven't had any calls, literally, and it's actually, I'm pretty surprised, but I haven't received anything other than from your guys' office going back and forth, but I don't have a problem with the development. It's been something that's been going on for some time. Now it's kind of coming together. Fire's fine with it. I don't have really anything else. If there's no other comments, I'll just make a motion to approve agenda item number 37, VAR 78827. She's a yes vote. Commissioner Toussaint's a yes vote. And that motion carries. Motion to approve agenda item number 38, TMP 78828.
As amended?
As amended. Commissioner Toussaint is a yes vote. And that motion carries. And a motion to approve agenda item number 43, VAC 78800. Please cast your vote. Commissioner Toussaint? Yes. Commissioner Toussaint is a yes vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 37 and 38 will be final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days. Item 43 will be a part of the city council agenda on August 19th, 2020.
Maybe I'm supposed to know. Anything else you'd like to tell us there, Bobby?
Congratulations, Mr. Gronauer.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
We missed Miss Allen here tonight.
I know. I was hoping you hit her before you'd hit me on this. So you're making me blush a little bit red, but yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
You got married. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 39, VAR 78588, for the possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 10-foot tall fence where 8 feet is allowed at 3343 North Rancho Drive, Ward 5. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by installing a fence that is taller than what would be allowed by Title 19. Reducing the height of the fence would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested variance. Please note that there are additional letters of support and protest since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Whoever's going to speak, please state your name for the record.
My name is Michael Pate, 315 South Maple Street, Columbia, South Carolina. I'm representing the business here. I'm with Amarok. We actually installed and operate the security system there.
Okay, please state your name.
Tim Wolf, representing item 40, 7292 Purple Shadow Avenue, 89113.
Mr. Chairman, if I,
Right now, we're on 39.
They're both the same.
Same
So we
item.
can just handle them in one fell swoop, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, let's take 39 first, okay?
Okay.
All right, so go ahead, speak on
All
that.
right. Basically, I came into the city in 2011, met with Rod Clark and Fred Solis, explained what I had here was basically a security system installed behind the existing fence line, and I was told I needed no permits. We've been installing in this city since 2011 and before, and I have many, many, many installations here. We had a fire inspector come by Tim's piece of business here, and he said, hey, you guys have an electric fence up here. They're not allowed under the city code. You need to basically disengage this thing and get it out of here. Well, I went over and met with Mr. McOsker, Kevin McOsker, explained to him exactly what the device is, went through an explanation with him. He says, yeah, you're right. They are allowed in the city, but you basically need to get a building permit because of the height. So we applied for a building permit for these two particular sites to get everything rolling in the city. Once we got the building permits out there, then we were told we needed a variance because of the height of the device. So what I'd like to do is give you a little primer here on exactly what we have so you'll understand what we're doing. We basically secure large open yards. SIA, all the major trucking firms, these fellows right here. Anybody's got a large open space, got a lot of inventory out there, we secure those yards. We basically operate the entire system on a 12-volt battery, just like in your car, solar panels that keep that battery charged, and an alarm panel. So what we're doing is we're taking that 12 volts and we're amplifying it to 7,000 to 9,000 volts. It takes 1.3 seconds for that to happen. Once that energizer that's amplified that voltage gets loaded, it has to release that amperage and voltage down the line, the interior fence line, back to an alarm panel. And that alarm panel is trying to read a good return, and a good return in my world is 2,000 volts or more. So if it goes below that, the alarm panel starts a countdown. Goes through 5 consecutive pulses, which is about 7 seconds. If that happens, we set the alarm off. We set the alarm off silently back to Columbia, South Carolina, to our call center, and audibly on the site, and we go through a call list. So Tim's number 1 on my call list. I call Tim at 2:30 in the morning. Tim, we've got a break on the northeastern of the northern perimeter, 220 feet from the northeast corner. I can measure these down to about 10 feet. We also incorporate cameras with the devices. Tim can sit at home on his Wi-Fi, bring up that fence line, go, hey, we just had a big windstorm like it's windy today, blew the tree over, if there's a tree here, I don't know. Knocked over that corner, let's button it up and go back to get to bed, or I got 5 guys out there with a flatbed truck, cut a hole in my fence, they're robbing me blind, please call the local police department. That's called a verified alarm. Police love verified alarms for a couple reasons. One is they know exactly where to go. 2, they know exactly what to expect. So that's what we do. And I've been operating the city for a long time. So what we're looking for here is continuity and a way to go ahead and continue to do business and support and secure the businesses of Las Vegas. So we're asking for the height. Now we've got 8 feet up there. We always need at least 2 feet above the 8 because we put these things really close together. The standard we operate under requires us to be 100 to 200 millimeters apart. After that, you start encroaching out, and they don't work in simpatico. They're not symbiotic, so to speak. So, and we need to keep them close together. We get them up high, because if you don't have them high, someone will just step on the top fence, just drop in, and start doing their business. When they break out, that's when the alarm goes off. It's too late. So we always need that extra height. We only have 3 strands of wire up there. You cannot see it. The strands of wire we have are narrower than the strands of wire that are on the chain link fence that are there. It's very hard to see. It is signed with signs that are about the size of this piece of paper. They're yellow, caution, 7,000 volts, international sign for shock, don't go in here. And that usually does the job. Sometimes it doesn't, and Tim's here to testify to that we've actually stopped several robberies in these places and called the police and stopped it. So that's what we do here. So what we're asking you to do is please grant us this variance so we can continue to secure these properties, and hopefully we'll be able to do this with all that we have here in the city, because there are a lot of them.
All
Any
right.
questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard on agenda item number 39? Seeing none here. Anybody online?
No, Chairman.
Okay, nobody online. I will turn it over to Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Pate, this is quite the setup here, so I just want to go back a minute. Ran by a 12-volt battery, we get that, and then you supercharge it up to 7,000 volts. Does this actually shock anyone?
Yes, if someone penetrates the perimeter barrier, whether it's a fence or a wall, it will give them the shock. The shock is very similar to what you get when you have your stocking feet on, rub them across the carpet, reach out and hit a door handle. That's a 10,000 volt shock. Sometimes you can actually see the spark.
Right.
No one likes to do that. So basically what I do, your body abhors electricity. So if you do break in, it will give you a little shock. You don't want to do it again. You'll walk away and you won't come back to that spot. That's what it does.
Well, and we're not necessarily here to debate over the level of shock. It's really about the variance with the height.
Yes, sir.
I think typically when we look at fences, how tall is the existing fence here?
8 feet.
And you went up another 2 feet.
Yes, sir.
Looks taller than that here by the photos, but
Well, the perimeter fence might be shorter than that, but I'm thinking of Charleston now, and I'm probably on the wrong property.
right.
Mine's only 6 feet.
Yeah, yours is only 6? Okay. I'm on the wrong property.
I mean, listen, it's very different. First time really seeing this type of a system. It's not barbed wire,
No.
which is an automatic disqualifier, right? We just won't allow that. I am okay with the size of the wire, the cabling here. I mean, it's not, looking at the location of where this is for this particular project. I mean, I know we have another one here following that's not in this ward, but I mean, I'm kind of on the fence with this. I'd love to get some feedback from my colleagues here too. This is very different here.
Through the chair, just a question. In the picture, it looks like it's 6 wires above the top of the fence line.
And that's because that perimeter fence is only 6 feet tall, not 8. I misspoke on that particular fence line.
Okay, and so what is the total height to the top of the top cable, I guess?
10 feet.
It is 10. And,
Yeah, it's a 14 gauge wire. A chain link is about 10 or 12.
and our break-off is 8 feet, if I
Is
remember
8, correct.
correctly. And is it hard to modify to go back down to 8?
I need 2 feet at least. I could get that down to 8. But if I go lower than that, it's totally ineffective. I
understand,
basically
yeah.
am not doing anything at all.
I'm just trying to understand how, because it's the first time I've ever seen it, quite honestly, sitting up
Yeah,
there, and
and-
it's different for me.
And Commissioner Chair, like I say, we've been here a long time, so no one's noticed them. It's
Right.
hard to see these.
Yeah,
Unless you're really next to them and walking down the fence, you're really not going to see them.
and I guess from like a fire and safety standpoint of, say the fire department, is there any issue or concern? I know razor wire is always a concern.
If I may speak on both items, we had to put Knox boxes per the commissioner.
Okay, so there are Knox
Yeah,
boxes?
Yeah,
and-
we've got, each location has a Knox box right where the pad is on the outside. They have obviously got the key to it, and it's, quick, turns it on, turns it off.
Okay, so that's great. That's great to hear, that there's a process. Chief Nolan, is there anything you wanted to add to this?
To you, Commissioner, through the chair. Our fire inspectors did notice this, and our concern is for the safety of the firefighters, besides the police, who respond to these sites, vagrants, theft, whatever alarm goes off, we have to go and respond. And the applicant did provide Knox boxes to provide us access, so we didn't have to try and cut through
Got it.
and resort to our fail-safe on the gate.
Well, that's great to hear that there is a system. I mean, I feel like if it could get down to that 8 feet,
Well, I guess I'll let it go down if there's more comment before I...
And that's where I'm at. If this is a 6-foot picket fence, and you said you only need to be 2 foot, but it's 10 foot tall, I mean, why is it so tall if it's only a 6-foot picket fence?
And that's an easy answer, it's just stock.
Yeah.
Everything we build is 10 feet. I can't modify it much higher than that. Occasionally I can. I've got to go get special poles just in case I'm somewhere like San Bernardino, California allows me to go to 16 feet because they have 10-foot walls mandatory in a lot of their spots. So I can modify. It's easier to cut it than to get it up, understood, but stock is 10 feet because almost everywhere I go, it's 8 feet. And or a couple of strands of barbed wire. You don't allow that here, but usually you get a couple of strands of barbed wire on an angle. That gives you another 12 inches, 10 inches or so, then I can get it. Usually if it's angled out, I'm good with that. If it's angled in, I got a problem with it because it's going to hit my fence and I can't do that. So I got to take it out. So I usually take barbed wire out and razor wire off if I'm installing on anything like that too.
Okay, Commissioner Stotman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if we go down to 8 feet, the variance is no longer required, is that correct?
Correct.
Well, not all the fences on that property are 6 feet. Some are 8. That's the problem. They're not all 6 feet around it.
Just got a back wall too.
I think, Commissioner Chair, you had a question about safety, life safety on this?
I think it's answered by the chief.
Okay.
It was more just now, like going back to aesthetics and trying to fit within the 8-foot mark.
If I may speak again? Or you
Well,
already-
based on what I see here from what was provided by the pictures for agenda item number 39,
It's all the same.
it's showing a property all the way around, is what it looks like to me, and it doesn't look like there's any fence over 6 feet other than the one that you installed at 10 feet. So is it possible to bring that down to 8 feet? That's the question.
Well, if I may speak candidly,
State your name.
Tim Wolf. What we've got going on, and I've witnessed this firsthand on my property, having to get the 2 a.m. phone calls, is you get
But hold on a second. Are you speaking on behalf of somebody else's agenda item or your own?
No, on both these properties.
Okay.
On why we need 10 feet.
Okay.
Okay. We've had, literally, they brought ladders, the 8-foot ladder, and to hop over. I've seen it firsthand. Or they'll step on a car or a bucket or a shopping cart, and so if you're on top of the 6-foot fence, how much space is between your legs, you can step over that 8 foot without getting the shock. So the extra feet allows them not to be able to do that.
Commissioner Williams?
Thank you.
Oh, Commissioner
Sorry.
Rogan. Hold on, Commissioner Rogan.
I do just want to point out that this is pretty much the exact same item as the next one that's in my ward, so I think that we should probably be consistent in how we think about this item and when we vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams? Commissioner Chad?
Yeah, there's a few things that I'd like to add. First of all, I understand that the effect that you're trying to create with having the wires as they are, as opposed to reducing it by 2 feet. If I understood you, what's your name with the gray shirt? I'm
Michael
sorry.
Pate.
If I understood you correctly, it wouldn't have the same effect, and it kind of defeats the purpose of having those wires. Do I understand you correctly?
And that is correct, Commissioner, yes.
Okay. I don't have a problem with this at all. I think that the effect that you're trying to create to have that built-in portion to get you up to the 10 feet is necessary for the purpose of what you're trying to effectuate. You following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have no problem supporting this, and as well as agenda number, it's going to be the same exact thing on 40, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Slotman?
Sorry, just one more comment. And as we look at the picture that's on our screen today, you really can't see the wire, that 14-gauge wire that the gentleman's talking about. But if you look in the backup at your other photos, you can see it pretty much looks like a prison. And I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep people out. But what's the purpose of our city planning code that says no concertina wire and no barbed wire? We don't want our neighborhoods to start looking like prisons. And for those same reasons, I can't get behind this, because what's the difference between this and a concertina wire, or this and a barbed wire? It's still sticking up above an 8-foot tall block wall, which this commission has never allowed. And so we always said, okay, the concertina wire, we're okay with the concertina wire if it goes on the inside of the fence where you can't see it from the outside. So what was the reasoning behind that? We didn't want to portray our neighborhoods looking like prisons. So if we allow this, then we're basically saying, well, what good is our rules against concertina wire and barbed wire? So I can't get behind this.
Okay, Commissioner Toussaint?
Yes, I agree with Commissioner Slotman. I can't get behind this either. I think it looks ugly personally, and I think that the neighbors around there and the people around there aren't going to like it either, and I agree with everything that you said. So you'll not have my support tonight.
Commissioner Rogan?
Thanks. I just have a question for staff. I looked back, and previously in our earlier iteration of the planning code, these types of fences weren't allowed, but at some point it was amended and either purposely or inadvertently left out to allow these types of voltage fences. Was that something that we were cognizant of, or how did that happen?
I don't believe there was I apologize, Mr. Chairman, through you. Commissioner, I don't believe there was a concerted effort to make a change. I think there was some changes to our code related to walls that may have opened the door for them to ask for this type of fencing. But I don't believe there was any conscious effort to do that. I think there was just some changes that were made, and for whatever reason, the prohibition didn't get carried over.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is one that I went back and forth on. We do allow these types of fences in our code now, so you're allowed to build it, but again, it's too high, and the first time I saw these photos, I just agree with Commissioner Schlotman. It just makes it look like a prison. And certainly if you brought it down to the required 8 feet, that's your business, but anything higher than that, I'm not in support of.
Thank you, Commissioner Rowe. Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just lastly on this, looking at the application, it really is not harmonious with the surrounding neighborhood and location. And so I'm ready to make a motion at this time.
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion in support of staff's recommendation for denial on item VAR 78588.
You've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. Yes vote is for denial. And motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item will move forward to City Council and be heard as a part of their agenda on August 19th, 2020.
I'm going to read 40 into the record, and then we'll call for a motion. Yes, absolutely. Item number 40, VAR 78590, for the possible action and request for a variance to allow a 10-foot tall fence where 8 foot is allowed at 6905 West Charleston Boulevard, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by installing a fence that is taller than what is allowed by Title 19. Reducing the height of the fence would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested variance. Please note that there are additional letters of support and protest since publication. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just stick with the comments we had before. Good.
Well,
Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, I'm not on the street. You cannot see me from the street. I'm 25, 30, 40 yards back from Charleston. You can't see anything of me. So I don't have the same aesthetic look as the previous location. I do have several security issues with the area that it's in, especially in the evenings with the amount of homeless that go in front of Charleston and behind the variance. There's a easement between us and the homes behind me. And this fence, if you will, has saved numerous break-ins. I do a lot of high-end cars in my shop, Tesla, Mercedes, whatnot, and I've caught people on the other side that were about to do something, but they weren't able to get back over because of the fence and security the fence provides. I've also caught people on the opposite side where I've had to call Metro, they take care of it, go on from there. And with me not being on street side where it's not visible.
All right, thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard on agenda item 40?
And Mr. Chairman, just one more from me. I mean, what we do is we stop crime, and that's what we've done here.
Okay.
These guys have not
I got
had-
it. Hey, look.
Well, you
I picked
asked me
up-
to-
I got it.
if I could speak.
I got it. We got it. This is a public hearing. Anybody wish to be heard from the public? Seeing none, anybody online?
No, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I understand your concerns about crime, but this is a land use and planning issue, and the rules say 8 feet. So that's what we're asking you to do, and you can choose to do it, or you can take it down. It's up to you. Given the comments made at this public hearing as well as the public hearing on item 39, I make a motion to deny item 40 VAR 78590.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. Yes vote is for denial. That motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, this item will also move forward to City Council and be heard as a part of their agenda on August 19th, 2020.
Moving over to item number 41, VAR 78788, for the possible action and request for a variance to allow 17-foot tall overall perimeter wall height where 12-foot at maximum is allowed, to allow 11-foot tall retaining wall where 6 foot is maximum allowed on greater than a 2% slope, and to allow 11-foot tall secondary wall where 4 feet is the maximum allowed at the northwest corner of Washburn Road in Clark County 215, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by installing a fence that is, or proposing to install a fence that is taller than what Title 19 allows. Reducing the height of the proposed wall would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested variance. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Again, Bob Gronauer, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. In this matter, I'm representing D.R. Horton. About a month ago, one of my partners stood before you on this side of the Beltway itself, asking for the same variances for the similar reasons I'm going to ask for tonight, which is with respect to the topography issues that you have here in the grading, where the alignment of the Beltway was a little bit further over in this way, and it was moved over to further to the west. This is the development on this side of the freeway itself. As a matter of fact, this is in the negotiations with all the neighbors in the northwest. This was the one part of the property that nobody cared about with respect to single-family residential development, because you have the bus depot that's located over here. We were told that you could go build towers over here, do whatever you want to do. This is an RCL product. D.R. Horton has purchased the entire property. So we'd ask you to follow your recommendations from the last meeting when we had variances along the Beltway in this area here for the wall heights.
Thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none. Anybody online?
No, Chairman.
All right, thank you. So I'll turn it over to myself. Well, are we going to be done with this? We've been doing this for like 2 years.
These become like trust fund cases. You know, I've been doing this for 3 years. It started out with Olympia and Larry Canarelli, and it took about 1.5 years working with Larry Brown, the neighbors, and Councilwoman Fiore, and then D.R. Horton came in, which is another one of my clients, and we got some cleanup to do here, and I think you're probably going to see me or Stephanie Allen again coming through representing D.R. Horton. I think we have 1 or 2 more items we have to clean up here.
Okay, yeah.
So it's at least another 2-3 years. You'll see me representing this. So
The fellow
it's
commissioners
good.
remember, we dealt with this last month, gave them the same issue, the topography,
Absolutely.
elevation issues, so We're just kind of cleaning it up, so with
Just,
that.
but for the record, I'm not the one that creates these, okay? I just represent them, all right?
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve agenda item number 41, VAR 78788. And that motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that item's final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerks within 10 days.
Thank you very much. Have a good night and be safe.
Okay, moving on to item number 42, 78840, SDR1, for the possible action on a request for a site development and plan review for a proposed universal medical school with waivers of Title 19.09 Form-Based Code Standards at the southwest corner of Pinto Lane and Shadow Lane. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, staff has considered the request and has determined that the unique nature of the university use requires design flexibility to allow for an aesthetically pleasing facility that is appropriate for the City of Las Vegas Medical District while still providing the required safety and security for students, faculty, and staff. The requested waivers are also minor in nature given the overall scope of the project, and the proposed development remains consistent and compatible with the surrounding development and the remainder of the Las Vegas Medical District. Therefore, staff recommends approval of all waivers and the associated site development plan review. Please note that there are additional letters of support since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Whoever's going to speak, please state your name for the record.
Good evening, Maureen Schaefer. I'm the CEO of the Nevada Health and Bioscience Asset Corporation, and we're pleased to be here tonight to present the medical education building for the UNLV School of Medicine. With me tonight is Mr. David Frommer, the head of facilities for UNLV, and the dean of the medical school, Dr. Mark Hahn. Our organization was formed to support the building of health infrastructure in the community, and we're very pleased to be presenting this project to all of you for the benefit of the community, and look forward to giving this presentation to all of you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the commission. David Frommer. I'll take my mask off for a moment. David Frommer, Associate Vice President, Planning, Construction, and Real Estate at UNLV. Just wanted to say how excited UNLV is to be working with the Nevada Health Bioscience Assets Corporation, or NHBAC. Their support and commitment to the UNLV School of Medicine and to academic medical care and education in Southern Nevada has been extraordinary. NHBAC's leadership on the medical education building has been of the highest order, in my opinion, and they are looking to develop a facility that will have a great impact on the Las Vegas Medical District, a great positive impact, the UNLV School of Medicine, and academic health care and education and medical care in Southern Nevada. So I'm here after the presentation if any questions come up, and I will turn it over to Dean Kahn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mark, M-A-R-C, Kahn, K-A-H-N. I'm the Dean of UNLV School of Medicine. And again, I'd also like to thank the Development Corporation for helping us to produce a building that will really be transformative to the Las Vegas Medical District. This is going to be the home to our School of Medicine and a place that's going to train physicians for Southern Nevada for the next decades and longer. Our goal at UNLV School of Medicine is to care for our community. That's our central mission, and training the physicians of the future is certainly consistent with that goal. So members of the council and committee, I really thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard on this agenda item? Oh, okay. Please come up. Come on up.
Get the team. I'd like to introduce our development team led by our project manager, Mr. Terry Manley.
Thanks, Maureen. Thanks, Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Terry Manley, 1100 Greer. I'm the president and CEO of New West Company. My firm was retained by the NHBAC shortly after the beginning of the year for the purpose of managing all aspects of the development, design, and construction of the medical building. We've spent the last 5 months putting together our pre-construction team. some of whom are here tonight, including TSK Architects, who are going to give you an actual presentation of the building and walk you through it. Our team is made up of local Las Vegas firms. That was one of the very clear and early directions of the NHBAC, was that in as much as was possible, that 100% of the labor and the construction and the ownership of those having a hand in the construction of the medical building be Las Vegas-based companies, and they are. Our schedule on the building is to break ground in December of this year. We expect the time between groundbreaking and occupancy to be about 18 to 20 months. We're moving along nicely. As David Fromer said, we've got a great relationship between our side on the private side and UNLV. We've got a terrific team. MJ Dean Construction on the construction, Pogemeyer Design on the civil engineering, and TSK Architects doing the building design. So at this time, I'd like to introduce whoever's Wyndham Kimsey and Mike Pirtle from TSK, and they're actually going to show you the building. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Let me take this off. Okay. I'm Wyndham Kimsey, TSK Architects, 143 Wentworth, 89074. You want to introduce yourself, too?
And Mike Pirtle, TSK, 314 South Water Street.
So,
What
just
was
want
your
to...
name? I didn't catch it. What was your name again, sir?
Mike Pirtle.
Mike Pirtle.
Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully we got it in a good spot here. I'll move this to the side, maybe it'll help. Just want to talk just a little bit about the building. We've been working closely with your Public Works and planning folks on this project. It's a 138,000 square foot medical education building, 5-story building located in the corner of Pinto and Shadow Lane, right here. So the building is sort of nestled on that corner, and ultimately this will be a campus. So it's designed, it's put there so and keep in mind that knowing there will be future buildings. We have 300 parking spaces. 240 of those spaces are for the students, and somewhere around 80 to 100 for staff in the parking. One of the nice things on the site here is it's very heavily landscaped. We've done some nice treatments with trees and things, working with some of the things that are planned along Pinto and as well around Shadow Lane, working where the bus stop will be. But one of the interesting things here in some of our undeveloped property, if you see to the east, we have a wellness loop that goes all the way through the site. So anyway, the landscape is going to be have some interesting features too. Just flip to the next one. You can see here, and our building has kind of a bifurcated entrance at 2 separate levels. Partly has a lot to do with how the building operates, to be able to separate them for keep the functions operating at different times of day. But what's nice is we've kind of taken a little bit of a meandering path, taking you up to the main level of the building, and some areas for some landscape. And part of what we're working with Lage Landscape Design, but trying to do some wellness gardens or some gardens that are sort of have thematic things that have to do with plants and wellness, and so that's kind of a nice feature. And then there is some turf area because the students need some areas to maybe play volleyball and do some activities outside. They spend a lot of time in the building, so it's sort of their home. Anything else about the site, Mike? I'm just going to keep going. I don't want to keep y'all here all night. But I want to talk some about some of the materiality of the building. One of the things that's really important is in terms of just thinking about this building in terms of how it meets the corner. But here, as we think about this as a campus, we create this sort of forecourt on the southern side of the site, and it has a piece that sort of projects out. As you can see, that's all. It has a rooftop area that's landscaped, but also below that are some of the other functions of the med school. So it's kind of called the term we've used, the super floor. So we have a lot of activities for the students and things they do on that first floor underground, which is about 6 feet underground. So that raised podium is somewhere around 9 feet, right, I think? So, and you can see the meandering path with the beautiful landscape that takes you up to it. But one of the things I think about are there are opportunities for, either fundraising events or other things where that south facade of the building at that first level can open up large nano walls and things like that that allow the building to sort of breathe in and out a little bit when different functions. I think that's really important. The materiality, this is going to be a concrete building, so concrete will also be one of the major finishes in the building. And that red material you see is a terracotta rain screen. And the kind of interesting thing with that texture, with that terracotta, is it, with the striations and ribs, has sort of reflects some of what you see nature does out at Red Rock with the rocks out there, but also when you see it in section, it's a heartbeat. So it's a little EKG thing. So it has a couple of dual meanings. But we've taken a lot of care at looking at shading the glass, and also there'll also be some future shading and some things on that green roof that's not fully developed yet. Let me just kind of work our way around. This is another view from the southeast. Look in the building, so it kind of sets that building up on the plinth and gives it a nice presence for the future campus. And we think some of the architecture, a little nod maybe to a little mid-century modern with the sort of the roof and the hat and the way it's designed to sort of evoke some of the past here in Las Vegas. This is the view straight on from the south. At the main entry, there's a floating metal screen that sort of helps shade the glass behind it, but also helps signify where the main entry is to the building. And you can see that other secondary entry, it's a slope, not a ramp, but a slope that takes you down into the part of the building where some of the, it can be some of the...
Simulation.
Thank you. I'm trying to give Mike some talking. I'll just go all night, so not really, but I want to give Mike a chance. I'll tell you what, let's let Mike talk about this corner right here and talk a little bit about the north, some of the things we do on Pinto.
Sure.
That'd be great.
No, again, so that corner of Pinto and Shadow, pretty important anchor there for the medical district and for this campus. And so the large glass aperture there is really student-focused space, trying to go ahead and activate that edge. And then down along Pinto Lane, little pedestrian plazas, so sidewalk gets extended to the building, some street amenities and things like that. So again, working with planning staff, which has been great, really trying to go ahead and activate the street and make sure it's sort of pedestrian friendly, but it's still secure for the students and provides a nice lively atmosphere there.
And one of the things I probably didn't mention, we were looking at the site plan on the west side, we've incorporated an additional stair up into that podium that's in conjunction with the bus shelter, or the future bus shelter right there. And you'll see there is some glazing and fenestration at that podium level to bring natural light down into the circulation areas of the lower floor. And a lot of glass, sort of the major glass piece here is on the north side. These are really, on the top is more admin, but down below that are all learning spaces, so we bring a lot of natural light into the building. And you want to talk a little bit about the loading dock area and how that's screened, or you want to use a site plan?
No, I mean, I think that's, sure.
Here we go.
Yeah, just simply put, building's got to be serviced, didn't want to be seen. So the loading dock is down there at the 6 feet below at that first level, so we go ahead and depress that and set the mechanical yard down there as well, cooling towers and anything unsightly gets screened from Pinto, and also back from the entrance to the campus, which is there along Pinto, and then the other one down along Shadow Lane at the southwest corner.
So that's our presentation on the building, and we look forward to any questions you may have for anybody in the team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to be heard on this item? Seeing none online?
No, Chairman, none. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to Commissioner Rogan, I just want to say, when I had my meeting with Lauren, I thought this is great. This is an awesome deal. But I did not know that you stuck with MJ Dean, so I just want to disclose that I've been working with MJ Dean for, almost 30 years, so I just want to put that out there. It's not going to change my vote either way. I was in love with this project before you even said what you said, so with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Rogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a great project. I think we have to remember when we're dealing with the waivers that are requested from form-based code is what staff has always told us with the adoption of form-based code, that it's a work in progress. And as we realize that some things are working and some things aren't, they're going to be changing them. And one of the things that I think we're realizing, or should realize, is that even though we have all of the building standards for these different transit zones, we never really were cognizant of the fact that we'd have some kind of university coming in to build a building. And that may necessarily not want to be oriented towards the streets that are abutting the proposed project. So I think that's why staff's making a recommendation for approval. It's why I'm in support of this project. I think it's a great project. It's needed, desperately needed in our community, and I want to thank all of you for all of the efforts that you've put forward to make this come to fruition, and I wish you the very best. And unless anybody else has any comments, I'm ready to make a motion.
I just had a quick question, if you don't mind, through the chair. Is there accommodation for bicycles on the site?
Yes.
We're just seeing in some of the housing projects, we're seeing in downtown now a huge surge of bicycle ridership.
I believe we have 2 bike locations.
And one thing I know the RTC is doing is having stations as well that you can locate at properties, high-traffic areas, that you can put in both electric and regular bicycles. But, and another thing, like there was a project earlier where there was concern about parking deficiency, and when you have students that are going to be living in downtown and riding bikes and taking ride share, this is the perfect example of where they can go and what they're going to do. So hopefully there's some accommodation for those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the bikes, so the RTC, the transit stop there, does have bike spots at that. You got that. Just outside that on our property, on the property, we've got additional bike spots right next to that. Then as you work your way back around to the front of the building, before you go up into it, there's bikes there. And then talking about bike lockers up toward the actual entrance to the building, so.
That's great. All of a sudden, biking is cool in Las Vegas. I love it. Thank you. It's a great project.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to say really quick, as a former region of the system, it's exciting to finally see this project come forward. And so, again, happy to see it come forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Tata?
Yeah, I just wanted to also compliment you. Wow. This building has a wow factor. And as an alumni of UNLV, I love seeing that you guys have maintained the integrity of the colors of UNLV as well and kind of transported it into the medical district. I think this is going to be a beautiful addition, very needed in the area. So good luck.
Thank you, Commissioner Slotman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, same comments. Well thought through building, a beautiful building, much needed investment in the medical district, and glad to see the new medical district code coming out and someone building a project here. And like Commissioner Rogan said, it won't fit 100% within our code, so that's why we need certain waivers, but that's expected with any new code. So anyways, and great job on, getting permits so quick. Hopefully you'll do get permits by December. I'd love to see this building coming out of the ground.
Thank you. I got one other thing. Did you guys fare well on the SB1 that just passed? I know you guys were getting some funding through that. Just
I'll leave that
for clarification.
For the record, David Fromer, UNLV. SB1, are you referring to the capital projects at the special session?
That's correct.
To date, I don't believe it's gone to the committee of the whole and been passed, but there are some cuts to capital projects with that particular bill. Our engineering building at a UNLV is affected by that and some deferred maintenance funds, but this particular project is separate from that and funded by the NHBAC.
Okay. And just also just under the abundance of caution, as the president of Labor's Local 872, when we do supply the manpower for MJD, I'll abstain. I hate to have to do that, because I think it's a great project, but I'm just going to do that under the abundance of caution.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with that because your union currently supplies labor for their general contractor. I think it's appropriate for you to do the same for the site.
That's correct. Okay, Commissioner Rogan.
Thanks. I appreciate everyone's comments. With the comments and the testimony here tonight, I'm ready to move to approve item 42, SDR 78840.
You've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days. And if I could just take a moment, I want to thank the team that's been working on this because they have been great collaborators with my staff in the planning department and working through those issues with the form-based code. And they made some adjustments based on some of the comments that my team put forth to bring what I think is going to be an amazing addition to the medical district and to the city of Las Vegas. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Mr. Director. Your staff's been terrific, and it's gone smoothly and a lot of give and take. We appreciate it. We appreciate your attention tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're terrific partners. We look forward to the future.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the director's business, item number 44, 20-0006-TXT1, for the possible action on a request to amend the Lone Mountain and Lone Mountain West Master Plan and design standards and to add beer, wine cooler on-sale establishment as a conditional use and to provide other related matters. Staff has no recommendation, but I'm sure they have a staff report.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed text amendment would amend the Lone Mountain and Lone Mountain West Development Plan and Design Standards Manuals to add the beer, wine cooler on-sale establishment use as a conditional use. Staff has no recommendation. Thank you.
At this time, I'll open it up to the commissioners for any questions.
Through the chair, I'm ready to make a motion if there's no comments.
Please, I see none. Please do.
Item number 44, 20-0006-TXT1, I'd like to make a motion for approval, please.
You've heard the motion. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries. Moving on to item number 45, 20-0008-TXT1 for the possible action on a request to amend the LVMC Title 19.16.110 special use permit regarding determining factors for a minor amendment and to provide for other related matters. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed text amendment would amend Title 19 regarding the determining factors for a minor amendment to an approved special use permit. If approved, any decrease in the area of an approved SUP would be processed or could be processed administratively. Staff has no recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Cherry.
If there's no discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion.
I see none. Please do.
Prepared to follow staff's recommendation for approval on item number 45, 200008, TXT1.
Item number, and that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 44 and 45 will move forward to City Council in ordinance form at a future date.
Item number 46 is the last citizen's participation. Does anybody wish to participate in item number 46? Seeing none here. Anybody online?
No, Chairman, thank you.
Seeing none, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.